soon.
The latest from the newsroom now on BBC One with Juliet Morris.
Good morning. The Cabinet is meeting at Chequers today to discuss strategy for the forthcoming general election. John Major says the Conservative manifesto will aim to show how opportunity, choice and ownership can be extended over the next 5 years. Figures released this morning show that Britain's economy grew by 2.6 last year, in line with city expectations. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Kenneth Clarke, said the figures showed the British economy had gone from strength to strength. Economists now think that a rise in interest rates before the general election is less likely. The House of Fraser Group has confirmed that it's to cut 1,000 jobs. It's closing 3 department stores in Eastbourne, Sheffield and Scunthorpe. Northern Ireland's multi-party talks are due to resume at Stormont in an hour. It'll be the first full session of the year. There may be objections raised to the presence of some of the loyalist representatives after a recent series of booby-trapped bombings in the province. The Home Office has confirmed it's reviewing the case of James Hanratty, who was hanged for one of the most notorious crimes in British history. Hanratty was executed in Bedford Jail in 1962 for the so-called A6 murder. Campaigners have protested his innocence ever since. Thousands of students have marched in the centre of the Serbian capital, Belgrade, after being blocked by riot police for more than a week. They've been protesting against the government's refusal to recognise all the opposition's victories in local elections last November. They were allowed to move freely when the police withdrew during the night. Environmental campaigners have spent a second night in a treetop camp on the site of Manchester Airport's second runway. The protesters say they plan to stay there indefinitely. A spokesman for the airport said they'd been asked to leave but wouldn't comment on what action might be taken to remove them. And we return now to our main story this morning. The Cabinet is meeting at Chequers to discuss strategy for the forthcoming general election. Jeremy Vine reports.
An early start for Cabinet members whose manifesto ideas will come under the general heading, the next stage of the opportunity revolution. They arrived at the Prime Minister's country home, Chequers, to talk about law and order, education, social security, business and much more besides. But they know the opposition say that after 18 years, the government's cupboard is bare.
As Labour talks, it's increasingly clear that what they have in mind would be dangerous. It would undermine the advances that millions and millions of hard-working men and women have made in terms of their own prosperity and that of their families.
And the manifesto will aim to prove the Conservatives are the party of the family, it's being said. The document will be radical without being terrifying.
That's it. There'll be more news in an hour.
Hello again. Up to 150 young residents of a northeast village are being vaccinated against the bacteria which can cause meningitis. 3 people from Inverbervie are still recovering from meningococcal septicemia blood poisoning. Meanwhile, an American student staying in Aberdeen has died from the disease. The 2 outbreaks are not thought to be connected. Police in Fife have disclosed that a teenager has been charged in connection with the death of an elderly woman in Cowdenbeath last Friday. The 14-year-old youth is expected to appear at the Sheriff Court in Dunfermline tomorrow. The pensioner who died was 82-year-old Lucy Marshall, who was found in her home. More than 100 jobs are to go from the House of Fraser's 7 department stores in Scotland. The shops affected are 3 Arnott stores at Dundee, Inverness and Paisley, and 4 under the Fraser banner in Glasgow, Aberdeen, Edinburgh and Perth. Staff were being told this morning about the cuts, which involve 1,000 job losses overall and the sale of 3 stores in England. Time for a look at the weather prospects now. Well, most parts will be dry and bright, but the Northern Isles will have some wintry showers. These will become more frequent later today. That's it from the newsroom for the moment. Join us again. We're back just after midday.
Good morning. A lot of cloud across the country today as these 2 cold fronts push their way south, but they are quite weak, so they're not producing too much in the way of rain. Although we have got some grey, drizzly weather through North Wales, Northern England, into northern parts of East Anglia, and indeed some showers in northern Scotland. Now these bands are going to push their way south and continue to weaken through the day. The best of the sunshine, though, likely, perhaps in some part of the southwest, but more particularly across central and southern parts of Scotland. Temperatures, though, not varying much, mostly around about 7 or 8 degrees. And apart from the brisk westerly in the north, the winds are going to stay quite light. Tonight, light winds and a cloud gradually clearing means some mist and some fog patches, and probably a touch of frost too across those central parts of England and Wales, a few shelter places further north as well.
Juggling with letters, but taking a little more care with the antiques. Andrew O'Connor with the alphabet game. Now on BBC One, consumer advice for the next 40 minutes with the Really Useful Show.
Well, it's old, it's